Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Lynn. If not, welcome back. So the reason why I'm filming Hoya after hours is because I have procrastinated for so long and for so much that my plant chores have caught up with me and I desperately need to repot 3 plants just to stay ahead of the game. Sorry, my dogs are barking. So for tonight's little repotting session, we have 3 plants that I need to repot. I have a Hoya insularis here, my Hoya Chibi, my Hoya callistophila Chibi, and my Hoya Matilde Splash. I have my water, I have my rack, I have my empty containers, and I have LECA over here, so we're ready to go. So the first one I'm gonna unpot here is the Hoya insularis. It's just been really unmanageable because it's drying out really fast. I keep forgetting to water it, and I'm just very worried that I will eventually kill this plant because I forgot to water it. So I have just massaged it out of the pot. I am just gonna do a quick dip in just regular water just to rinse off all of that fluval. And as you can see here, the roots are beautiful, amazing roots. So every time you're propagating your Hoyas, just make sure you're like really inspecting the roots and making sure that they're in good health and that there are no like weird pests on them. So this one is all good. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, if you want a step-by-step tutorial for like my propagation technique, my fertilization routine, and how I move Hoyas from a rooted Hoya from Fluval Stratum into like a semi-hydro setup, I will link all of those videos down below. But in Hoya After Hours, we don't usually do too much explaining, we are just doing things. Alright, so I have my plant here, it's unpotted. I've already washed most of the fluval off of the roots. So now I'm gonna get my pot, and my pot's gonna be a reused glass container. I believe this used to be a queso dip. Yep, it used to be a queso dip. And we're gonna pot our little Hoya insularis into this pot over here. Okay, and I filled up my cup here about 2/3 of the way. And that should be perfect for this Hoya. Yep, I was right. Now I'm gonna do a backfill. Like a lot of you are gonna ask me, isn't there a wrapper covering the container? Can you even see your roots? And the answer is no, I cannot. I can only see like one sliver of like clear glass around the back over here, and I'm just like, you know what? I have so many. Okay, this is the other funny thing. Whenever I buy groceries, or like I'm buying, I don't know, dips or like salsas and stuff like that, I'm always looking at the shape of the container, and it is something I can use later as a Hoya pot. And I've already like used this pot so many times and washed it so many times that like obviously the label has already faded off, but the paper is still on the bottle, and you know what? It's just going to slowly go away with time. I don't know what to say. I have too many glass containers that are like, I buy, when I go grocery shopping, I buy containers that I buy the grocery that I'm gonna eat, but then I choose the container of said grocery that I will eventually pot into a Hoya. I pot a Hoya into, and then when I finish eating whatever thing I bought, I will then wash the containers and keep them in a cabinet. And I have so many containers now that I have to use this container. So, oh my god, it poked my eye. But yeah. Alright, so we're looking pretty good here. I'm just going to fill up just a little bit more, and then we are going to be all done. Yeah. So one really important tip that I've talked about endlessly in other Hoya repots, Hoya After Hour repots, and also in my tutorial video, you really want to make sure to cover up any exposed roots with your medium, because they are going to dry out with time. So here we have it. This is my Hoya insularis. I can see a little sliver here which tells me like when to water it. So this is a closed container semi-hydro setup. It's the same system as like if you would put this plant in a self-watering pot with a wick. It would work the same way. I mean, passive, it's basically going through by passive The word is escaping me. Passive what? Diffusion? Oh my god, it's escaping me right now. It's late. But basically the water is going to travel upwards through the substrate. And it doesn't matter if you're doing closed containers or if you're doing a self-wicking container, it works the same way. But one tip with either of those containers that you're going to use for semi-hydro, you really want to make sure that you give the plant a nice dry out period between waterings. So here is my Hoya insularis, and I've watered it about halfway. There you go. That's one plant done. Looks super cute. And now we're going to move on to the next plant. My next plant is going to be my Hoya Chibi. I'm going to take out this prop pin over here, give it a solid press and squeeze. Take out the trellis. Sweet. Okay. Be very gentle, because I don't want to ruin any like growth. I'm just going to shake it off. Beautiful roots, as you can see. Look at that. Amazing roots. So this has been rooting in a fluval cup for about 2 months. And again, every time I get a question on Instagram or on Facebook or on YouTube about like how much root is enough root, I would say this much root is more than enough root, and this would help guarantee that when you are doing your transplanting or when you're repotting it, that the new growth will just continue and they wouldn't drop that new growth. So go check out my video if you want a step-by-step tutorial. And I have a trellis over here that I made by myself. If you want to learn how to make your own wire braided trellises, I will also link that video down in the description box below. It's a great way, especially if you're collecting a lot of Hoyas or like you're new to collecting Hoyas and you want to save some money. It's a great way to save money when you make your own trellises, because trellises can really add up, especially if you get like 20, 30 Hoyas or like 50 or more. So trellises can really add up. Learn how to make your own and you're going to save a lot of money. Alright, and now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fill it up with LECA. So this whole thing is going to be our reservoir, and I'm just checking if it's going to fit, and it will. So if you want to make your life easier, always put the trellis in first, like before the pot is filled with your inorganic substrate, because it's going to be really hard to stab it in later on. But yeah, that's a quick tip. And then here goes my plant, and we are going to backfill. You know what, as I'm backfilling, I'm just gonna say some things. Like recently, on my Instagram, I've been seeing so many people buy plants in winter and then get burnt for it. Like their plants are arriving with cold damage, or like they're not adjusting well, or like they're dying and all that kind of stuff. And it's all like, well, I bought the plants because they were on sale. It's a Christmas sale, then it was a Thanksgiving sale, then it was a Christmas sale, then it's a New Year's sale. I mean, they're on sale for a reason, because nobody's buying plants. Or like okay, it's not fair to say that nobody's buying plants. A lot of people are buying plants, but the mass majority of us are not buying plants in the middle of winter, because shipping plants regularly is already pretty stressful for the plants. Imagine trying to ship them in winter. Like, and if you live in a state in the US, for example, if you live in a state that's like really, really cold, like over here, it's sub 30s most nights. I mean, how urgent do you need this plant? Because in the end, I just saw somebody like share on Instagram the other day that she spent like $250 and all of the plants are dead because of cold damage. How desperate are you to go get those plants, you know? So here's what I think. Like, sometimes that deal and that promotion is not really worth it, and people are throwing out those deals because they're trying to make money. Obviously, they're a business, they need to make money, but also because they know that like by dropping their prices, they're going to entice you to try to take that risk. And you know, some sellers are really nice and they provide like a guarantee for like deliveries and stuff, but most sellers don't, because they just promise you that they pack their plants with care. and that if the plants come to you harmed in any shape or form, that they're not going to be responsible for that. And that is understandable. Like, a lot of things can happen during shipment that's completely out of the seller's control, and I don't blame them for that. But I do think that you need to be a bit smarter as the buyer to like kind of control yourself and think about whether you need to buy this plant in winter. Can you just wait? And whether you want to take that risk of maybe saving a couple dollars, or maybe even up to $10-20, but potentially having to rehab that plant when it gets to you with cold damage, you know? But again, if you're a very experienced buyer, you're a very experienced grower, and where you're living right now, like the state, isn't too cold, I say go for it. But like, if you're living in the north and it's pretty cold every single night, like every night it's like sub 30s, just think about it before you start throwing hundreds of dollars into like crazy lives and deals and stuff like that. And you know what I really appreciate? I really appreciate very honest sellers who go like, yeah, no, I'm not going to sell any plants in December and January because they're not going to, I cannot guarantee that they'll get to you alive. And I respect that. Like, you care enough about your brand and your business that you're like, unless you're somewhere really warm, I'm not going to ship those plants to you because I cannot guarantee their safe arrival. And I respect that, you know? All right, you guys, change of plans. So I wanted to repot the Hoya Matilt Splash in semi-hydro, but I ran out of LECA, and then I went, oh, okay, I'll repot it in soil mix. Ran out of soil mix, and I don't feel up for it to make a whole pot of new soil mix right now. So I'm going to repot this another time, and it's just going to stay in a Fluval cup for now. Just going to add a little bit of water so it doesn't dry out tomorrow. What was I saying before I moved the Chibi away? Oh, yeah, so after repotting the Chibi, I added my nutrient solution and some Rapid Start that's diluted into the bottle, just to help the roots, you know, acclimatize to the new environment. What was I saying? Oh wait, buying plants in winter. If you're a seller who is selling plants in winter, no shade. And if you're a buyer who is buying plants in winter, again, no shade. As long as you know, like as a buyer, the sellers are going to sell. But you, as the buyer, as long as you know and understand, or like you take precautions for all of these winter-related damages, like cold damages. For example, one way I can think of to reduce cold damage would be to ship your plants via USPS or UPS, but like you go pick up at the office. So the plant is always in a temperature-controlled environment. It never gets on a van or anything like that. I think that is a really great way of ensuring that your plants get to you safely. And then the other thing is, look at your daily temperatures. Like, look ahead of time. Like, if you're in the 40s to the 50s zone, I think you're still okay with like a heat pack and all of that. But like, if every single night it's like sub 30s or even sub 20s, girl or guy or them, you need to think about whether you want to throw hundreds of dollars into buying plants because they're on a deal. Because I don't know if they're going to make it to you alive and whether it's actually a good deal. Just think about that for a bit. And wait, let me just like put one thing straight. For sure, I've seen so many different posts on Instagram now where like people have bought plants because of deals in winter, and the plants have come to them like either dead or like definitely dead or like in need of severe rehabilitation. But I've also seen many people receiving plants in like totally fine conditions, and I'm gonna assume, I don't know where to live, but I'm gonna assume that they either pick the plants up in a controlled environment, so the plants are not just sitting on the porch for God knows how long, and like they picked it up in the office, so the plant is always in a controlled environment, or B, they're not living somewhere super cold. So just make sure the sellers are going to sell because that's their job and that's their business. They need to make money. But you as the buyer, you need to be smart about these things. If you really need to get that deal, then make sure you're taking precautions. Like make sure you're getting insulation, make sure you're getting heat packs, make sure you're like asking them to drop it off at the post office or at UPS or whatever carrier they're using, and you are picking the package up in the office, so the package is not just sitting in 30-degree weather waiting for you to come home, because like that's a surefire recipe for the plant to die. But yeah, that is Hoya after hours. I'm sorry it's like super chatty. If it's your first time at Hoya after hours, it's usually very unstructured, chatty, and I'm just doing random things. So I hope you enjoyed today's content. It's very relaxed. I'm sorry I only repotted 2 plants. I was hoping to repot 3, but I ran out of so much medium, and I guess I'm gonna make a new video making new soil mix. So I'll see you guys next time. Have a good night. Thank you as always for your attention. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That's it.